The moment your cat looks into your eyes and lets out a tiny sound, most people smile, maybe answer back, and then move on with their day. It feels ordinary. Just another cute little habit. But what if that small voice isn't random at all? What if every meow carries intention? What if, for years, your cat has been trying to tell you things you've never truly heard? Imagine living with someone who speaks to you every single day, only to realize you've misunderstood almost everything they were trying to say. That thought is both heartbreaking and fascinating, because the truth is far more incredible than most cat owners ever imagine. People often believe that cats are quiet, mysterious creatures that keep everything to themselves. They assume that a meow is simply a cat making noise, no different from birds singing outside or dogs barking at the mailman. But your cat sees it differently. Every time they open their mouth to speak to you, they are making a choice. They are reaching across the enormous gap between two completely different species, hoping you'll understand. And whether you notice it or not, they've been studying you for much longer than you've been studying them. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever noticed how your cat greets you differently when you come home after a long day? Sometimes it's a soft little sound waiting at the door. Other times it's a louder call that seems almost impatient, as if they've been counting every minute until you returned. Maybe they follow you from room to room, continuing their conversation while you answer with a smile. Feels almost like talking to a close friend. Yet many people still believe cats simply don't communicate the way dogs do. They couldn't be more wrong. Long before cats shared our homes, they survived alone. They relied on silence to hunt and careful observation to stay alive. Noise could attract danger, so speaking constantly served little purpose. But everything changed when humans entered their world. Over generations, cats discovered something remarkable. They realized that people often missed quiet signals. We didn't notice the flick of a tail, the movement of an ear, or the subtle shift in posture that another cat would instantly understand. Humans needed something louder, something impossible to ignore. So your cat adapted. Instead of expecting us to learn their silent language overnight, they slowly created a new way to reach us. Every little sound became another bridge connecting two worlds that were never meant to understand each other so easily. It's an extraordinary act of trust when you think about it. Rather than giving up on us, they kept trying. Every greeting, every tiny chirp, every gentle call became another attempt to say, "I'm here. Please notice me." What's even more touching is that your cat isn't speaking to every person in exactly the same way. They're learning about you specifically. They watch what captures your attention. They remember which sounds make you smile, which ones make you walk toward the food bowl, and which ones make you kneel down to stroke their head. Little by little, without you realizing it, they're building a conversation designed just for the two of you. It's almost like creating a private language that no one else can fully understand. Have you ever wondered why your cat seems to answer when you talk? You say something, and within seconds they respond with another meow. Many people laugh and call it coincidence, but perhaps your cat believes you're genuinely participating in the conversation. To them, these exchanges aren't meaningless. They're moments of connection, reassurance, and companionship. Every response tells them you're still paying attention, that the bond between you is alive and growing stronger. This may also explain why some cats become surprisingly talkative while others seem quieter. They're not simply born that way. They're constantly experimenting, learning what works, adjusting their voice to fit the person they love most. If one sound earns affection, they'll remember it. If another gets ignored, they'll quietly replace it with something more effective. It's an incredible display of patience and intelligence hidden beneath something as simple as a meow. But here's where the story becomes even more fascinating. Not every sound means the same thing, and the differences are far more meaningful than most owners ever realize. The next time your cat calls out to you, they may not just be asking for food. They could be sharing excitement, seeking comfort, expressing trust, or revealing emotions you've never learned to recognize. And once you discover what those different voices truly mean, you'll never hear your cat the same way again. There is something almost magical about the way cats speak, because what sounds ordinary to us can carry completely different emotions for them. One quiet sound might simply be a warm greeting after you've been apart for a few hours. Another might be filled with urgency, asking you to notice something you've completely overlooked. Yet another may carry nothing more than the simple comfort of knowing you're nearby. The difference is subtle, but to your cat, every variation matters. They aren't repeating themselves. They're choosing their words as carefully as they know how. Think back to the first time your cat greeted you after a long day away from home. Maybe they rushed to the door with a gentle little sound that immediately made you smile. It probably felt like they were saying hello, and in many ways they were. That soft greeting isn't just excitement. It's recognition. It's your cat acknowledging that someone important has returned safely. For an animal that values routine and familiarity, your arrival is often the highlight of the day. That tiny voice carries relief, affection, and the quiet joy of seeing someone they trust. But not every call is wrapped in happiness. Sometimes your cat lets out a longer, more drawn-out sound that seems impossible to ignore. Many owners assume it's just impatience or stubbornness, but there's often much more beneath the surface. Perhaps the water bowl has been empty longer than usual. Maybe the door to their favorite room is closed. Or maybe they're simply asking you to stop rushing through your day and spend a few peaceful minutes together. Cats may enjoy their independence, but that doesn't mean they never crave connection. In fact, many of them ask for attention in surprisingly gentle ways, hoping we'll notice before they have to become louder. Then there are those delightful little chirps and soft rolling sounds that seem almost too sweet to describe. They often appear when your cat spots you across the room or happily trots toward you with their tail held high. These sounds feel different because they are different. They're filled with comfort rather than urgency. Instead of demanding something, they're inviting you into a shared moment. It's the closest thing many cats have to saying, "Come with me," or, "I'm happy you're here." Some owners never think twice about these tiny sounds, yet they may be among the warmest expressions of trust a cat can offer. Of course, not every conversation is cheerful. Every relationship has moments when boundaries need to be respected, and cats are no different. Before they ever become defensive, they usually try to communicate in quieter ways first. They may freeze for a moment, pull their ears back, avoid eye contact, or stiffen their body ever so slightly. These are gentle requests for space. But because humans often miss these silent signals, cats sometimes feel they have no choice but to raise their voice. A sharp warning isn't meant to punish you. It's often the final sentence in a conversation that began long before you noticed anything was wrong. Perhaps the most remarkable part of all is that your cat is constantly learning which sounds work best with you personally. They pay attention to your reactions more carefully than most people realize. If one particular call makes you immediately stand up and fill the food bowl, they'll remember it. If another brings you over for cuddles, that one becomes part of their growing vocabulary too. Over weeks, months, and years, your cat slowly develops a communication style that belongs only to your relationship. That's why two cats living in different homes can sound completely different, even if they want exactly the same thing. Each has spent countless quiet moments studying the person they love most. They've learned your habits, your routines, your personality, even the times when you're most likely to respond. Without either of you realizing it, you've both been teaching each other how to communicate. And just when you think you've started understanding your cat's language, another incredible discovery changes everything. Some of the sweetest sounds they make, the ones we associate with peace, comfort, and affection, may actually hide a much deeper message. Sometimes the gentlest voice your cat has is also the one that's asking for the most. The sound that melts our hearts more than any other is the gentle, steady purr. Most of us hear it and instantly think the same thing. My cat is happy. It's one of the most comforting sounds in the world, a quiet reminder that everything feels safe. But what makes cats so extraordinary is that they rarely communicate in ways that are simple. Sometimes, the sound we believe tells the happiest story is actually carrying an entirely different message. Imagine your cat curling up beside you late at night, purring softly as they settle into your lap. In that moment, everything feels peaceful. And often it truly is. Your presence makes them feel secure, your touch relaxes them, and that soothing vibration reflects the comfort they feel around you. But there are other moments when the same sound appears under completely different circumstances. A frightened cat may purr. A nervous cat may purr. Even a cat that isn't feeling well may produce that familiar vibration. It isn't always a celebration. Sometimes it's their way of calming themselves, finding comfort during moments they can't explain. That's why paying attention to the whole picture matters so much. Your cat's voice is only one part of the conversation. Their eyes, their posture, the way they move toward you, or away from you, all complete the message. The more carefully you observe these little details, the more clearly you'll begin to understand what they've been trying to tell you all along. Perhaps the most amazing part of this relationship is that your cat isn't only teaching you their language. They're learning yours as well. Have you ever noticed how your cat reacts before you've even spoken a full sentence? Sometimes all it takes is the sound of your footsteps or the gentle way you call their name, and suddenly they're looking up at you with complete attention. They recognize far more than we often give them credit for. They begin to understand the rhythm of your voice, the warmth in your tone, and even the emotions hidden beneath your words. When you've had a wonderful day, your voice carries a lighter energy. You move differently. You smile more. Your cat notices those changes almost instantly. And on the days when life feels heavy, When your shoulders sink and your voice becomes quieter, many cats notice that too. They may quietly sit beside you, follow you from room to room, or simply stay closer than usual. They don't need to understand every word you say. They're listening to something much deeper than language. They're listening to you. This silent understanding creates one of the strongest bonds humans can share with an animal. Every day, without realizing it, you and your cat are having hundreds of tiny conversations. Some happen through gentle sounds. Others happen through eye contact, routines, familiar footsteps, or peaceful moments shared on the couch. Together, they form a relationship built on trust instead of words. But there is one final message every cat owner should carry with them. If your cat suddenly begins behaving differently, don't assume it's just another phase. A cat that has always greeted you enthusiastically but suddenly becomes silent may be trying to tell you something important. Likewise, a normally quiet cat that starts calling out constantly isn't necessarily being difficult. Any lasting change in the way your cat communicates deserves your attention. Sometimes the reason is surprisingly simple. A change in routine, a new environment, or the arrival of another pet can make even the most confident cat feel uncertain. Cats love familiarity, and even small disruptions can affect how they express themselves. At other times, however, a sudden change in their voice or behavior may be their only way of asking for help. Unlike us, they can't explain what feels wrong. Their actions become their language, and their voice becomes their signal. The greatest gift we can give them isn't expensive toys or the fanciest treats. It's our willingness to truly notice them, to slow down, to listen, to recognize that every sound they make carries purpose, even if we don't understand it immediately. The next time your cat looks up at you and lets out that familiar little meow, resist the urge to hear it as background noise. Pause for just a moment. Look into their eyes. Ask yourself what they're trying to share. You may discover that the conversation has been there all along, waiting patiently for you to finally hear it. Because in the end, your cat was never simply making noise. They were trusting you with their voice. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all is that they've been hoping every single day that someone they love would truly listen.